Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It is Macro Monday. Let's take a look at some legacy charts. Some crypto in the open here. BTC doing very well after last week's sell-off. ETH still trying to recover out of the cloud there. I certainly expect BTC to move first, ETH next, later in October in a bigger way. If BTC can break up from the IHS, the entire crypto market will do very well, is my guess. And we still have gold looking like it's ready to go to infinity. So that is also a very, very strong tailwind for BTC. Gold and BTC will benefit from government dysfunction, debt, too much money printing. And it's not like we don't have any of that stuff going on right now. We also have Vanguard even talking about joining the ETF party on the crypto side. So even though we may not have some amazing technical setups here for crypto, we're starting to get signs of more flows, at least potentially. Now it's up to flows to come and price to move, but the groundwork is being laid at the very least. Flows last week globally for crypto assets were negative. We actually had a positive flow for Solana, super negative for BTC and ETH. But really all I ask for is just consistency. Just consistency week over week, and that's going to continue to push prices higher. CME basis has turned down a bit on the quarterly roll. Options OI on BTC has turned down a bit on the quarterly roll. If basis was at 25, it'd be a different story. We're not seeing just crazy exuberance on the futures side in legacy markets. Here's another look at the IHS. Anything above 115 should be go time. Bullish TK cross should follow after that. And then a showdown at the all-time high yearly pivot around 122. But this is what we needed to see. Now, if we see lower lows from here, I think it's okay to talk about what you're going to do for the next year with your life, because the cycle probably is over. Alts probably don't recover. But we'll cross that bridge if and when we get to it. For the moment, it looks like we're going to try to make some higher highs. And of all the things in legacy, some of the high flying stuff, I'll take a look at the end, but the SPY's kind of quieted down. The Qs have quieted down. Mag 7 largely quieted down. So it is almost our turn here coming up on the crypto side. MSTR is still not important to me until it's above 370. I just don't care, even if this is the low. Technicals still look just not great for MSTR. And here is the 4-year cycle power curve from APSK. If you look at the orange line there, 2025, gives us a ballpark. Can we go to 200K? I don't know. I think 150 is extremely reasonable from here. Anything beyond that is going to take some doing, but gold's a $25 trillion asset, and it's up 40% on the year. BTC is only up 20% on the year, and it's $2 trillion. So we can certainly see some crazy momentum still for the cycle and for the year. And that's going to potentially happen in the next 3 months. If I was going to blindly guess at any point in time, it would be this part of the cycle. It would be Q4. It would be in the next couple of weeks. So I like our chances. I like our odds. Looking at the calendar for this week, a little bit of Fed speak here and there. Jolts tomorrow, that's job openings. ADP Wednesday. And then we may or may not get an unemployment rate if the government is shut down, because they have said they're not going to release. The VLS is not going to release a report if the government is not opened, which that makes sense. So we may not actually get a print on Friday. We'll have a pretty good idea from ADP, even though it's not generally correct on what's going on. If these numbers of jolts are all over the place and ADP is all over the place, then we'll have a decent idea of what maybe to expect. With unemployment rate, if they shut down for a day, if it's a month, who knows? That could throw off data collection for the next print, and it could just back things up. Worst case scenario is probably, okay, we don't get an unemployment rate print until the next FOMC because the government is shut down, and they just have the data they have. All not great possibilities here if the government is shut down for an extended period of time. Look at the FedWatch tool for probabilities, still pricing in a cut for next meeting. I don't know what print on jobs would even reduce the odds here. If unemployment rate went under 4%, maybe we go to no cut. But that's where the market is right now with a month out. Truflation's been extremely volatile since May. Really since January, February. Since Trump took office. This has been extremely all over the place. But the general mean has been 2%. So we're sitting there now way below the 2.9 on CPI. And if we look at CPI for this month, estimated, we are seeing a rise in CPI. So it's headed in the wrong direction. PCE also up month over month. So we do not want to see energy taking off. We do not want to see all these numbers continuing to take off. It makes everyone's life miserable. And of course, the Fed has less ammo to continue to cut. But 3% may be the new 2%. And this is what I mean by making people's lives miserable. If we're talking about pre-post-COVID grocery prices, meat especially, I know a lot of people have noticed on steak prices, ground beef prices are just out of control relative to where they were pre-COVID. And this is way above any measured CPI inflation. You know, this is a different planet from what it was pre-COVID. And a lot of that is because we printed a lot of money and it's still floating around in the ecosystem. GDP is also roofing. We're running it hot. Nothing stops this train, etc. This is a 3.9% print. That's insanity in a good way. Certainly not a recession. On the liquidity front, reverse repo still just running on fumes. TGA appears to have hit its level where the government is satisfied. So between nothing coming out of reverse repo and a lot going into the TGA, that was a near-term liquidity suck that certainly has hurt crypto in the near term just because it is the most sensitive to changes in liquidity. Meanwhile, we've got M2 making new highs, continuing to go higher. Certainly not good for inflation, but you know, why does it look like gold's going to infinity? Well, look at the M2 chart. You know, look at inflation. If you're not going to take inflation seriously as a government, as the Fed, then why buy bonds? Doesn't make sense. These all look individually chart-wise, except TLT, they look okay. They look like they're trying to bottom. I think if you saw this chart on the AG or the IEF, you'd say, all right, maybe I'll start buying, take a stab. But are you going to outperform inflation is the question. With long-term bonds, probably not. That's why more and more people have shifted to BTC and gold, especially recently. So you have a technical reason for this to break out, and you've got plenty of fundamental ammo, macro ammo, for this to just continue. It's reached its target and then some. A little bit of a bear div up here, but overall, nothing to worry about if you're in gold. Absolutely nothing to worry about. Copper also close to new all-time highs. This is copper miners. Silver we talked about last night, also hitting crazy levels, all-time highs. Uranium, you know, all these commodities look very, very good when the money printer go burr. And there's still people screaming about the CAPE ratio and the Shiller ratio, whatever you want to call this. You know, why is this continuing to increase? Does it matter? Well, if they keep printing money, the money's got to go somewhere. It's either going to go into housing, it's going into equities, or going into commodities or something else, right? So are valuations at historically high levels? Yeah. But so is money in circulation. What else are people supposed to do with it? Buy your crappy bonds that don't beat inflation? You know, like, let's be real here, right? So that's definitely playing a role in why these PE ratios are as high as they are, and why are people throwing money at pre-revenue companies. When you're so far in the hole, people feel like they have to gamble to catch up. We also have buybacks record high, certainly helping keep stocks buoyant. And on the seasonality front, we are now past or in the midst of the seasonal nadir that we would expect going into October. Now, is it going to be rainbows and sunshine and a free ride until the end of the year? Probably not. But from a seasonal perspective, over the past decade, for the S&P, right about now is when the low is in. SPY and Q's not really doing much today. Mag 7 also doesn't, to me, look like there's a setup here. Great recovery after the drawdown. Pretty smooth ride, generally. Not much to worry about here. From, let's say, 50 to 65. Really nothing to sweat. It's just up here right now. Would you rather keep buying this, or maybe thinking about some other stuff? Thinking about BTC or individual names that look a little better. Going around the horn on some of these other sectors. IGV, this is tech. You got to be careful because a lot of these ETFs, the software ETFs, have the Mag 7 in them. Things like Hack also looks good. This is a cybersecurity ETF. I think this probably has one or two of the Mag 7 in it as well. But the individual names have definitely been where it's at. This is the financial sector. XLF also looks very good here. Flirting with all-time highs, flirting with a breakout here above the neckline of an inverted head and shoulders. All this stuff looks good as an option. You know, is it going to outperform An altcoin? No, but it's the next place where money could rotate. XLU even recovering here with a bullish TK recross, price above cloud, following a potential head and shoulders breakdown. So everywhere you look that I can see, nothing is looking particularly bearish. Even the energy sector, XLE, has pulled up quite a bit. Now, admittedly, we do not want this breaking out because that will mean the energy components of inflation will start to take off. So the more just this does nothing, the better for all of us. Trying to turn up there, but it doesn't look like it's going anywhere in a hurry. Not really anything to trade. Back today, I think it's up 42% on the day, something absurd. It is above the 3-day cloud now for the first time ever. It tried to get above the 3-day cloud here in, 23, 24. Failed. This may fail. You know, it's got some time here on the close, but looks very, very good for an attempt. People always say like, okay, well, now what do we do? Do we buy here? Do we wait? Do we set bids? I don't know, right? DCA, any of it's fine. If you think crypto companies are going to take off, if you think this is the one, or miners are the one, or Circle is the one, or Galaxy even looks fine here. You know, people have their reasons for investing in whichever company. To me, it's all about the technicals. So anything that looks like it's on the bullish side of things, much better stab than otherwise. You know, why would I buy this when you could buy Galaxy or Backed? I don't know. You know, like it's kind of absurd to think that Backed is even in the conversation again, but that's where we're at in the market right now. So I don't think there's any great setups per se, even though Galaxy looks really good here again. Coin still kind of stuck in the mud. Sorry, you know, the coin bulls are going to come after me. Where do you want this to go? Where would you be satisfied? 600? So that's under a 2x from here. You don't even have confirmation. It's kind of like the ETH question, you know, like if you think it's going to 2x, do you wait? Do you hold it? Do you get lapped by something else while you're waiting? There's an opportunity cost. I just don't like it here. There may be a time down the road where it presents itself as a trade, but I do not like coin at the moment. And then some other stuff, EVAV for all the leveraged degens still looks very good. It's leveraged EV ETF, Lemonade, another one a lot of people have been talking about. Trying to curl up, starting to curl up. Little cup and handle action on that one. On the AI side, one that still hasn't moved a lot. It's moved a lot since 10, right? But relative to the group, Rigetti, IONQ, I still think Pony's in the mix on the lottery ticket side. For some money to potentially rotate into this, all they need is a headline on anything, right? And that might be all it needs. Look at Backed, right? Backed had, air quotes, a headline. That's all it needed. Maybe this is all it needs. If I was holding Rigetti still, I'd definitely be trimming. I don't think you need to worry about closing here, NFA, but definitely be trimming based on targets being hit from 13 to here. That's a double. And if you've been holding under 13, that's a triple. So it's done very well to make up for any lost time recently. Lyft is another one that continues to look very strong on the breakout. Roku looks similar. And this is where my head would be at on an individual basis. I think there's a lot in commodities. There's a lot in rare earths. There's some platinum stuff. There's all sorts of interesting looking charts that are not Mag 7 here that have set up for quite some time. And we'll be saying the same thing, I think, about alts going into November, December, where a lot of these alts year to date are still down 50, 60%. And they're kind of setting up like this. It's just taking them forever to break up. Rivian, still kind of a dog down there, and Figs also rolling over a little bit. These two for me are ultra long-term trades. So I'm not looking at daily fractals. I'm not looking at daily cloud. I don't care about any of that stuff. As long as it's holding higher lows, that's all I care about. This can continue to just consolidate. And then one day we'll have an announcement. God knows what it is. And boom, we're at some price level, right? So broadly, I don't think the indices are where you want to be. And I don't think that's where most people are anyway. If you're in the market actively trading, you're probably bouncing around between a lot of individual names. BTC certainly warming up, and a lot of people adding to some options positions here, looking at BITU. I just don't think MSTR is ready for me just yet. That's all I got for this one. If you like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.